He was 14 years old, plowing a potato field in Idaho when he saw it. He looked back at the parallel rows of turned earth and understood. An image could be captured and transmitted the same way, line by line, electronically, no spinning disks, no mechanical parts, pure electricity. He had just conceived all-electronic television. He had never seen a working television in his life. His name was Philo Farnsworth. 7 years later, in a San Francisco laboratory, at age 21, he proved it worked. And for the rest of his life, the most powerful man in American broadcasting tried to take it from him. Philo Taylor Farnsworth was born on August 19, 1906, in a log cabin in Beaver, Utah, built by his grandfather, a Mormon pioneer. The family moved to a farm near Rigby, Idaho, when Philo was a child. The farmhouse had no electricity. When Philo discovered the attic was wired for a generator, he taught himself electrical engineering from manuals and converted the family's appliances to electric power. He was 12. He read popular science and invention obsessively. He followed the early television experiments with fascination and with frustration. All of them used mechanical systems, spinning disks with holes punched in them that swept across an image, line by line, converting light to an electrical signal. They produced dim, unstable, low-resolution pictures. Farnsworth understood the fundamental problem. A mechanical disk could never spin fast enough to capture a clear moving image. The future of television was not mechanical, it was electronic. In 1922, at Rigby High School, he sketched his concept on the blackboard for his chemistry teacher, Justin Tolman, an image dissector vacuum tube that could scan an image electronically using a beam of electrons. Tolman was astonished. He kept his own copy of the sketch. That copy would save Farnsworth's career 12 years later. Farnsworth's father died of pneumonia in January 1924. Philo, still in high school, took a public works job to support the family. He never abandoned the idea. In 1926, he persuaded friends George Everson and Leslie Gorel to invest $6,000. Everson secured $25,000 more from Crocker First National Bank in San Francisco. Farnsworth moved to San Francisco, married his sweetheart Pem Gardner, and set up his laboratory. He was 20 years old. On September 7, 1927, Farnsworth aimed his image dissector camera at a glass slide with a single straight line scratched into it. The line appeared on a receiver in the next room. It was the world's first successful all-electronic television transmission. He turned to his team and said, "There you have it, electronic television." He was 21 years old. Progress was rapid. By 1928, he demonstrated the system to the press. By 1929, he transmitted the first image of a human face, his wife Pem's. His patent for the image dissector was granted in 1930. Farnsworth was celebrated as a prodigy. What the press did not know was that in 1930, a visitor had come to his laboratory, Vladimir Zworykin, RCA's television engineer. Zworykin praised the image dissector. He reported back to his boss, David Sarnoff. David Sarnoff was the president of RCA, the Radio Corporation of America, and the most powerful man in broadcasting. He had built NBC. He had made radio the dominant medium of the 1930s, and he could see that television was coming next. He had hired Zworykin specifically to build RCA's television system. What he had not planned on was a 23-year-old Idaho farm boy holding the essential patent. In 1931, Sarnoff visited Farnsworth personally and offered $100,000 for all his patents, with the condition that Farnsworth come work for RCA. Farnsworth refused. RCA had never paid royalties to an outside inventor. Sarnoff had no intention of starting now. He launched a legal campaign to destroy Farnsworth's patents. RCA claimed that Zworykin's 1923 patent application had priority over Farnsworth's design, despite being unable to produce any evidence that Zworykin had actually built a working television transmitter before 1931. The case dragged on for years. Farnsworth's lawyers found Justin Tolman, his old chemistry teacher, who produced the sketch of Farnsworth's 1922 blackboard drawing. In 1934 and 1935, the U.S. Patent Office ruled in Farnsworth's favor. He was, the ruling stated, the undisputed inventor of television. In 1939, after years of appeals, RCA finally agreed to pay Farnsworth $1 million in royalties. It was one of the only times in his career that David Sarnoff had been beaten. Farnsworth had won, but Sarnoff had found another way to win. The years of litigation had done their work. Farnsworth had spent a decade in courtrooms and in debt, exhausted and ill, while RCA built the broadcasting infrastructure, the studios, the transmitters, the NBC network, that would dominate the coming television age. By 1939, Farnsworth had suffered a nervous breakdown. He moved his family to a farm in Maine to recover. His patents were running out. When America entered the war in 1941, the government halted consumer television development. Farnsworth's factory in Indiana pivoted to making ammunition boxes. Every year of war was a year of his patent clock ticking. When the post-war boom finally arrived, when American families began buying televisions by the millions, Farnsworth's key patents had expired. Television ownership in American households jumped from 9% in 1950 to 65% in 1960. Three-quarters of those sets were sold by RCA, royalty-free. In 1950, the Radio and Television Manufacturers Association named David Sarnoff Father of Television. In 1949, NBC had broadcast a special celebrating the 25th anniversary of television by RCA, with no mention of Farnsworth. The man who invented television watched the industry celebrate someone else as its creator. By the early 1970s, the average television set contained approximately 100 items originally patented by Philo Farnsworth. He earned nothing on any of them. His Farnsworth Corporation had sold just a few thousand televisions before being absorbed by ITT in 1949. He never built the company he had envisioned. In his later years, Farnsworth turned to nuclear fusion. He patented the Farnsworth-Hirsch fusor, a compact fusion device still built by hobbyists today. His fusion company went bankrupt in 1970. On July 20, 1969, Farnsworth watched Neil Armstrong walk on the moon, transmitted live to 600 million viewers by the medium he had invented. He turned to Pym and said, "This has made it all worthwhile." He died of pneumonia on March 11, 1971. He was 64 years old. His wife Pym spent the years that followed restoring his reputation, insisting that history record what the market had denied him. She saw a U.S. postage stamp issued in his honor in 1983. She saw him inducted into the Television Academy Hall of Fame. She saw a bronze statue of her husband placed in the United States Capitol, Utah's representative to the nation. What did Philo Farnsworth actually build? 4 things that outlasted everything that was done to him. First, the principle of all electronic television, the image dissector, the line-by-line electronic scan. It is the foundation of every screen that has ever been built, every TV camera, every display. His fingerprint is on all of it. Second, a landmark patent victory, the 1935 ruling that a lone inventor with the right evidence could defeat the largest broadcasting corporation in America. It remains one of the defining moments in American patent history. Third, over 300 patents spanning radar, electron microscopes, infant incubators, air traffic control, and nuclear fusion. He was not a one-invention man. He was a perpetual generator of ideas who never had the resources to develop most of them. Fourth, a warning about corporate power that echoes through every inventor's story since. Being right in court is not enough if your opponent can outlast your patents. RCA used time itself as a weapon. Farnsworth could not stop the clock. 3 lessons from Philo Farnsworth. First, keep the evidence. Justin Tolman saved a sketch of a teenager's blackboard drawing. That piece of paper defeated RCA. Document your ideas. Date them. You cannot know when the evidence will matter, but when it does, it is everything. Second, a corporation can use delay as a weapon. RCA didn't need to beat Farnsworth in court. It needed to stall long enough for his patents to expire. Protecting an invention requires understanding that time itself is a battlefield. Third, vindication without reward is still vindication. Farnsworth died in debt, but the Patent Office's ruling stands. His name is on the Capitol. The history is honest. Being recorded correctly matters, even when the market went elsewhere. He conceived it plowing a field at 14. He proved it at 21. He won in court at 28. The war, the depression, and the clock did the rest. This has made it all worthwhile. Thank you for joining us for episode 22. Our next episode is Ida Rosenthal, the Russian immigrant who invented the modern bra, built Maidenform into a global empire, and changed how half the world dresses. Until then, stay curious.